Studying the music of Bach is our best opportunity to work on a transparent but singing tone. Here is our really cool fugue subject. It's 7 measures long, and it's in 3 parts. The first part is 2 measures, and it sounds like this. It makes me think of stars in the sky, since the notes are spread out, and we play them detached. The second part is 3 measures long, and this is comprised of 2-note groups. The third part is 2 measures long, and this part is a wavy scale. Now let's go back and delve into each of these 3 motifs in a little more depth. Students will often think, okay, I'm going to play D, then I need to go down to B, and then back to D, and then I'm going to go up to the G. And this is too many thoughts. And look how far it gets you. It doesn't get you very far. So instead, what a pro will do is say the first 2 measures are G major, and the texture sounds like this. And the first part makes me think of a sky peppered with stars. Isn't that a beautiful thought? A sky peppered with stars. Does that make sense to you? One of our main jobs as pianists is to set our hand, but a higher level is to subtly change the shape of our hand to accommodate side-to-side leverage between different interval sizes and different patterns of white keys and black keys. This means if you observed a single finger, you would see a slight curling and extending. And to add one additional challenge, sometimes it's relatively slow, sometimes it's relatively fast, but always controlled. Measure 1 and 2, these are stars, but they also must be related to each other. Look at the positioning of the hand so you can easily get to all the notes and produce uniform sounds, but sounds which also have a life of their own. The stars must not only shine, but also twinkle. And then the second part, I'm not sure what I'm going to think yet, but I did notice there are 2-note motives, little 2 notes that go together. And it reminds me of when I was a child and my teacher taught me slur, 2-note slur, heavy, light, heavy, light. Try to make the 2 notes sound connected, but try to make the 2 notes sound like they belong together. That's a very pianistic or keyboardistic thing to do. For the 2-note slurs, the biggest secret is you want to feel that happening in your arm. You do not want to feel it happening in your fingers alone. If you feel it in your arm, it's much stronger and it works much better. And the appearance of your body is much more simple. And the third motive is a scale, but it's kind of like ocean waves. It's a wavy scale. It's a very inspiring scale. So for the scale, we have a few factors to consider. Of course, the meter, we have 3 beats per measure. That factors in. We need to be aware of the meter, and it needs to be present and viable. But on top of that, we need to think about the contour that Bach wrote, and we need to highlight that contour. There's more than one way to do this. You could choose to highlight the interval of a fourth, and that would be interesting. The thing that excites me the most is finding a shape which highlights the contour in the best light. So to find that, I need to go into my imagination and not look to the page too much. Just listen and imagine. That being said, one of the best tools you can use is to listen to great Bach players. Of course, Andras Schiff, Angela Hewitt, Simone Dinnerstein. I love Simone Dinnerstein. Simone Dinnerstein studied with Solomon Mikovsky, and Solomon Mikovsky's studio is right next to my teacher's studio at Manhattan School of Music. And so that was very exciting for me to think about her studying in the next room. Of course, she studied there in the 80s, and I was there in 2008. In the beginning with the subject, we've been playing steady 16th notes. So our body has been moving to the pace of 16th notes. Then in measure 10, you get to the counter subject, and now you have an 8th note and a quarter note. So your body should move differently. You should feel strong and stable. Rotate your arm left and right with control. After our exposition, we have what is called episodes. And in the episodes, we will have fragments of the subject, and we will modulate to distant keys. It's going to sound really interesting. So first we have the sky peppered with stars in the dominant, and then we have it in the tonic. Then we go to E major and A minor, B major and E minor. And so a pro pianist would relate E major and A minor because that's a dominant and tonic in A minor. And then B major is the dominant of E minor. So you want to think of those as being related. Let's talk about the repeated chords that begin in measure 49. I struggled to find words for this specific concept, and if you have other ideas, please tell me in the comments. We need a crescendo paced perfectly, and we need to keep it controlled so it doesn't scream. Begin very close to the key with smaller keystrokes, and then allow them to grow. We need a slight delay on each sound, or that may be the wrong words. In my video on sound, we discussed the use of agogics to create rhythm tension, to give a stature to the sound. We want to pay attention to the balance of all melodies. This music is polyphonic. What does that mean, polyphonic music? There are multiple melodies happening at the same time. In this case, we have a fugue and 3 voices. There are up to 3 melodies at any given time. And we need to make sure that one melody doesn't cover up another melody. An example of a dangerous spot is when you have a trill. Since the trill has a lot of notes, it can easily cover up another melody. So just keep that trill controlled. Easier said than done. To play like a pro, you want to think musical, not notey. Don't show the notes too much. Some problems that I normally suffer from is I will try to play too loud, so I need to relax. I play better when I think about not playing too forcefully. And another thing is my rhythm. Sometimes I affect the rhythm in a bad way. So I also want to let the rhythm relax and flow. Baroque music should not be metronomic. Since harpsichordists don't have loud and soft to deal with, they deal with time. They bend the time a little bit. That is part and parcel of this style of music. You don't need to do it a lot, but just a little bit of that can be good. There's a big scale in measure 63 and 64. Here, we need to be careful to not disrupt the rhythm. Keep the same proportion of time for these measures that you have in places with 16th notes.